time do we have to get out of here with Mr. Stepp?
He said no more than 10 to 15.
Okay.
I mean, pretty typical.
We'll get him out of here 12:15. That's kind of my goal.
Cool. Oh, that's so nice of you to do for all of us. Did you just lick your microphone?
No, I was trying to burp again. I was like,
Oh, okay. I couldn't quite tell.
as Brian Curtis once said, guys that run recruiting sites would like you to know that it's going to be a very unpredictable ride to signing day. So you're going to want to stay tuned to their websites.
Okay. Oh, hey, it's time to do the show.
Yes, y'all! It is DCTF Live, the 25th most popular high school or college podcast on iTunes. 25th, no longer also receiving votes.
If you can't get excited about that, I don't know what you can get excited about.
Good for us.
Yes.
Good for us. We are Greg Tepper and Max Thompson. I'm Greg Tepper. That's Max Thompson, to be clear. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. He's the digital director of Dave Campbell's Texas Football.
Digital wizard.
Digital wizard is a good way to put it. We are still reeling from UIL realignment. We're going to have a lot of UIL realignment talk. Tomorrow is National Signing Day.
Oh, boy, our favorite day of the year. Oh, my God, I'm so excited. Aren't you so excited? I'm really excited. It's our favorite day of the year.
I'm really not that excited.
Oh, that's right. We hate it.
It's not that we hate it. That's not accurate. It's not that we hate National Signing Day. It's that we have created this.
Right.
Okay? We, being a society, not us. Don't blame us.
I blame you.
We have created this absolute carnival around National Signing Day for no reason other than because we need news to talk about. That's kind of my view on it.
Sure.
And the recruiting world is just honestly, it all comes back to the fact that verbal commitments is a completely made up term.
They are non-binding.
They are non-binding. They don't mean anything. And you're seeing more changes today. And it just I don't know, it drives me nuts. But don't mind me. Don't let me rain on your parade.
I will never let you do that, Greg.
It is Tuesday, February 2nd, 2016. This is episode number 65. Let me pull Hold on, I'm pulling it up. Give me a second. Number 65. Oh, you got some options. We're going to go with Alex Claudio, who
right.
showed up in the Rangers bullpen in 2014. He's a change-up artist.
Was he supposed to be there? The way you made that sound, he just showed up.
No,
not really sure.
He wasn't
really.
Let's put it this way: he showed up in 2014, which means that things weren't going well. Alex Claudio, known for his outrageous changeup. He's a changeup artist.
Well, to be fair, those are some of my favorite guys.
Yes. So it's the Alex Claudio episode. A little later, we're going to be talking to Matt Stepp, our good friend from the old coach. We're going to talk to him in just 2 minutes. Our friends at Fox Sports Southwest
yes.
have really #blessed us today.
Yes.
Because during the show, unfortunately, it's not on the screen right now, or else I'd show you. It's a commercial.
I don't know how we would show it anyway.
2A Division I state championship game between Canadian and Refugio. And right now, Still a game.
Oh,
Still
the
a game.
offensive fireworks haven't quite broken out yet.
Canadian leads just 14-7 over Refugio. I don't know. Maybe Refugio has a comeback.
Maybe it ends differently this time.
Spoiler alert. Canadians going to win by a lot.
But maybe it won't this time.
I think it will.
We do have some big recruiting news that just happened.
Yeah, there is some big recruiting news, although we'll see if he actually signs tomorrow.
I mean, 24 hours away, probably a pretty safe bet.
Kyle Porter, the outstanding running back from Katy, has apparently verbally committed, again, means nothing, but apparently committed to the University of Texas. That's a nice get for the Longhorns. Part of the quote-unquote late surge. What are you gawking at?
Did you see the news that Jesuit needed one more game? And so they scheduled Lake Travis.
You know
That's
what?
going to be a fun one.
Hey, you know what? First of all, we can get two things out of the way. First of all, happy birthday to our good friend Glenn Brockenbush.
Yeah.
Brockenbush, rather.
Oh, yes.
Glenn
I
Brockenbush.
forgot.
Today is his birthday. And so he requested this specifically, so this is a good way. If you're a Jesuit and you want to win a state championship, you've got to go through the tough guys, right? You got to play the toughest teams.
Right.
In other words, to be the man,
woo!
You got to beat the man.
That's right.
So, happy birthday, Glenn. We are DCTF Live. We are here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football, high school and college football across the Lone Star State. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, as I mentioned, number 25 on iTunes. So, I don't know what that means. I don't know how they calculate that. I don't think it's the 25th most popular. I just think it's the 25th best. I like to think of it as a value proposition. And it is free. We are giving this to you for free. So, TexasFootball.com, you can find the link to the podcast as well. Yesterday was UIL realignment. Obviously, a lot of moving and shaking. We talked about it during our hour-long episode yesterday, which you can go check back out on YouTube or on TexasFootball.com or on the podcast. But one guy who follows realignment almost as closely as pretty much anybody, probably closer than the UIL themselves, is our good friend from theoldcoach.com. It's Matt Stepp. Hey, Matt.
Hey, fellas, how's it?
It is going quite well. You do anything yesterday?
Sports were happening yesterday, weren't they?
Yeah. Did anything happen yesterday? Did you happen to notice any sort of news coming out yesterday?
You know, I came across my desk about the realignment. Districts were changing, all hell was breaking loose, people were complaining, just another day, right?
Just the normal day in the Texas high school football universe. Let's start first and foremost, teams that you think, we'll start with this. Were there any surprises? Were there anything that came out in yesterday's UIL realignment that really surprised you?
I 5A realignment as a whole really kind of threw me for a loop. I didn't see much.
We're losing him.
We're losing him.
We're gonna call Matt back.
We're gonna call Matt back. We're having some technical issues with Matt Stepp. Get a better phone, Stepp. He mentioned the 5A. He mentioned the 5A alignment, and that's always to me the toughest one to do, because there are so many schools that are spread out into odd areas. There's 5A schools everywhere. There's not necessarily 6A schools everywhere. We mentioned, for example, San Angelo Central, kind of all by itself out there. There's not necessarily 6A schools everywhere, but there are 5A schools all over the place. And so that is that's one of the things that I think 5A, if you were to talk to the UIL, is probably the toughest to figure out. We're going to try again. Matt, can you hear us?
The joys of live podcasting, right?
There we go. All right, we're back. So you were talking about the 5A alignment. I was mentioning that generally speaking, that tends to be the most unpredictable, but you were pretty surprised by it?
Yeah, there was a lot of curveballs thrown in Class 5A, and I thought Class 5A would have some weird alignments just with the way things fell with multi-school ISDs and those types of things, but didn't expect to see teams in the quote-unquote Dallas-Fort Worth area in Region 3. And this in Corsicana being in Region 3 really threw me for a loop. And then Houston in Region 4, with Lamar Consolidated ISD moving into Region 4, that kind of threw me for a loop. And then, you look at Cal Allen and Alice and some of the travel they have to do. I mean, they really kind of got the short end of the stick having to go. I mean, Corpus Christi to Eagle Pass is a haul.
Mm-hmm.
So, and obviously they're appealing that alignment, and I don't know if it'll work out for them, but those are things that really jumped off the page, really at me off the top.
As far as today, we're going to be doing winners and losers from UIL realignment. For you, who are the big winners in this realignment?
In 6A, I circle a couple. I thought Manor, going up to 6A, I thought they were really going to get really a tough district, and they got a workable district. I thought that's a district they can compete in, and it could have been a lot worse for them. So considering moving up to 6A, I thought they came out pretty well. Abilene High, I think, with a pretty workable district in the Metroplex. Obviously, they're not Sam Waller, our friend from Abilene Reporter News, isn't going to enjoy those Thursday trips to Keller, but, other than that, I think they came out pretty good with that district. And, hey, the last time Abilene was in the Metroplex, they won a state title, so it's not like things haven't worked out for them when they were in the Metroplex. And I thought South San and San Antonio Southwest getting realigned with the Laredo United ISD schools in 29 6A really helped, especially considering that they would avoid most of the powers in Region 4 until the third round of the playoffs. I thought they came out really well. Colleyville Heritage, obviously, with their dropping down and getting a pretty workable district as well. And then I think Lamar Consolidated and Angleton moving into Region 4 really helps them, especially considering the Austin powers in Region 4, no pun intended, but the powerhouses in the Austin area moved over to Region 3. You got to think Angleton, Richmond Foster are favorites in Region 4 right away in Class 5A.
Those are the teams that you think got the nice draw the UIL was nice to. Who was the UIL maybe not as nice to? Who are the losers, your losers from UIL realignment?
I think you got to start with Beaumont Westbrook. Don't think they were real happy about things being in Region 2 and being in a pretty tough district. Not only do they have a lot of travel, but Region 2 is a bear. Even in by district, they're going to have to do some traveling. So I think Beaumont Westbrook, San Antonio East Central, getting aligned in a district with Judson, Steele, Smithson Valley, and Clemens. No fun there. I thought Alief ISD was a bit of a loser as well, getting realigned with Pearland ISD and George Ranch, just in 6A. 5A, Fort Dunbar, why Fort Worth ISD continues to opt them up, I have no idea, but they get opted up again. They're in a district with Colleyville, Richland, Birdville, and Grapevine, all schools with over 2,000 enrollment, and Dunbar's enrollment's around 700. So I thought they were a loser. I thought Snyder was a loser. I think Snyder was kind of hoping they would get aligned in a more northward alignment, and they've got to stay basically in the same district they were in. And then down in 3A Division 1, I thought Hardin kind of got the short end of the stick, getting aligned with Lamarck and Hitchcock and East Chambers. It's a pretty tough district for them, and I think they would have to be considered a loser as well.
It's Matt Stepp from theoldcoach.com. Follow him on Twitter at Matt_Stepp817. Get his thoughts about all things Texas high school football. After the draw, we now know what Texas high school football is going to look like. We now have the framework. Is there anybody that you point to and you say, okay, they're a clear favorite in their region, or they're a clear favorite even to win a state title?
I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I'm going to say Aledo in 5A Division 1.
Careful out there.
Division 2, Region 1. They're actually the smallest school in their district. Aledo's had to go Division 1 the last two alignments because they were a little bit bigger than Everman and Burleson. Well, now Aledo gets aligned into a district with Eagle Mountain, Saginaw, Hazel, Brewer, and the like, and they're now the smallest school in their district. So, obviously, Aledo's probably going to make the playoffs, barring something really, really wild happening. They've got a lot coming back next year, and now they're guaranteed to be Division 2. You got to think that's huge for them to go Division 2. Lake Travis and Westlake going to Region 4, I think, is big. Obviously, they were going to be good no matter what region they were in, but I think Region 4 is much more workable than Region 2 for them. So I think that's great for them. Argyle going to Region 1, I think, helps them a lot. Argyle is going to avoid Kennedale and Liberty Ilu in the regional round of the playoffs now. Obviously they're still going to have to play Abilene Wiley some point in the playoffs more than likely, but I think Region 1 overall, aside from the travel, is much more navigable. Much less minefields for sure in Region 1. And then, Bremond moving into Region 3, I think all of 2A Division 2 Region 4 is probably celebrating Bremond's exit from that region. So I think Falls City is probably really happy. Falls City and Bruni are probably really happy that Bremond's out of there. And I think Bremond, obviously, in Region 3, they would have been considered a favorite in any region, but obviously they're going to be a big favorite as well.
One of the things I think the big headline from this set of realignment is that more than maybe in past years, we've seen some kind of wacky changes in the regions. You mentioned Beaumont Westbrook moving to Region 2. Coppell and Everman both move over from Region 1 to Region 2. Is that just do you think that's just kind of luck of the draw? Is this a little rare? Is this kind of bizarre to you that we've seen so many regional changes in this round of realignment?
It's a little bizarre, and I don't want to say the UIL did a bad job or anything like that, because I think they did overall a pretty good job. I think there was the way things worked with the landscape of growth patterns in the state. It's really making realignment, especially in the metro areas, much more difficult when you have these larger multi-school ISDs and these puzzle pieces that you have to put together. It's not unprecedented Everman to be in Region 2. It's happened before. When I was at Everman in high school, we were in Region 2. We were actually aligned with Waco schools. So it's not uncommon for them to be in Region 2. It is a little uncommon that you have, obviously, DFW teams in Region 2 and in Region 3 and a Beaumont school in Region 2 for sure. I just think it's a product of changing demographics and changing population patterns as well. Things are getting much more centered in the metro areas, and we've seen Houston creep into Region 2 in the past years. Now we're seeing in Region 4 Houston creeping into Region 4, and I think it's just a product, I think, of new schools opening and multi-school ISDs coming around, especially in the larger schools. Because in the smaller classifications, you haven't seen as much wild movement as we saw in 5A, 6A for sure.
He is Matt Stepp. Check out his fine work at theoldcoach.com. And, of course, follow him on Twitter. An essential Twitter follow at
the Woj of Texas high school football.
At Matt_Stepp with 2 Ps, 817. Appreciate you hopping on.
I just want to make sure my off-topic Friday suggestion has been put in the hopper for future use.
Which is?
Best grocery store.
Grocery store talk. Best grocery store in the state of Texas.
I'm writing that down.
Oh, state of Texas exclusive. You didn't specify that in the tweet.
Oh, well, we can do overall as well. We can do overall.
Okay.
But I think maybe we can do 2 topics.
I'm writing that down right now. He is Matt Stepp.
Who doesn't like to talk grocery stores?
That's true.
Thanks for hopping on with us, bud.
All right, bye. Talk to you later.
There he goes, Matt Stepp, theoldcoach.com. Have to follow him on Twitter at Matt_Stepp with 2 Ps, 817. So we are DCTF Live. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. So we got his winners and losers, and for us there was some overlap because I gave you my list of winners and losers as well.
Right.
There was some overlap, but I'm actually pretty pleased because I think we came up with relatively different ones. So we're going to go through my winners and losers from UIL realignment. Get involved in the conversation. # DCTF Live. We start in with the winners. We're going to be positive. Start positive, right?
Sure.
Start positive. One of the winners for me is Dallas ISD. Okay, when you look at the way that they got aligned, there was a chance that, first and foremost, when you talk about Dallas ISD, the flagship of Dallas ISD is Skyline.
Right.
That is always the best school. That is always the best program to come out of Dallas ISD. Other schools will up and have a nice year every once in a while. South Oak Cliff has had great years in past years. But I think overall Dallas ISD got a really nice draw. Skyline could have been put in that crazy District 7 with Cedar Hill and DeSoto, and Duncanville, who's on the rise, South Grand Prairie. They weren't. Instead, they get put in with the Richardson schools. They get put in with Coppell and Jesuit. I think that overall that was a pretty nice draw. And then you look down in 5A. I think that Dallas ISD kind of escaped. They'll play each other in by district. And then once you get into area rounds with District 9 and District 10, I think those are manageable. I think that you could see some DISD teams start making runs deeper into the playoffs because of this draw. I think that Dallas ISD was one of my winners. Another one, and I think this is a rather obvious one. District 1 4A Division 1. I'm not sure if you noticed this.
Okay.
Here are the teams in District 1 4A D1. Borger, Leveland, Lubbock Estacado, Pampa. That's the list. Did you notice anything?
Yeah.
It's only 4 teams.
That's only guess what?
Only 4 teams.
Guess what? Everyone's made the playoffs.
They're all heading to the playoffs. All of them have made the playoffs. And you see why. If you go and you pin those 4 schools, okay?
You understand really quickly.
Borger, Leveland, Lubbock Estacado, Pampa, those are Not anywhere near anybody else. You're not going to put Andrews or any of the Clint schools or Fabens or San Elizario in there. So it was kind of, basically this had to do a lot with one of the schools dropping down a district.
Well, on the flip side, too, if you look at District 2, what's the difference? If you flip one of those teams to the other one, then District 2, everyone makes the playoffs. So it's what are you losing at this point?
One of them was going to do it because then you look at District 3, and that's where you're getting into Abilene, you're getting into Stephenville, you're getting a lot farther east.
Yeah.
So the UIL at some point was going to have a 4-team district, and it just so happens to be District 1 in 4A Division 1, and so all 4 teams are in the playoffs. As long as they get through... as long as they play 10 games in 11 weeks, Borger, Levelland, Lubbock, Estacado, and Pampa have all clinched their playoff spots heading into the 2016 playoffs. I mentioned this with Stepp. Coppell and Everman, I think, are big winners. Getting moved over to Region 2 in their respective classifications, Everman moves from Region 1 to Region 2, and I think we saw it last year that Region 2 did bring out both of the state finalists. From that region where you had Frisco Lone Star and Mansfield Lake Ridge coming out of there. But overall, I think Region 2 is not as deep as Region 1, and beyond that, they don't have Alito. They don't have the big bully. That's in 5A, and then in 6A, I don't think there's any question that Coppell's a winner.
Right.
That Coppell moves away from Allen. They move away from DeSoto. Finally, Coppell won't play DeSoto in the first round. Cedar Hill, Denton Geyer, they stay away from Euless Trinity, from South Lake Carroll. Instead, they're getting the Garland schools. Now, once you get into the Longviews and you get into the Pflugerville type schools, there's some real good schools in there. But Region 2, I don't think there's any question. Region 2 is not as deep as Region 1 in 6A. And so for Coppell to move from Region 1 to Region 2, I think makes the Cowboys a big winner. Stepp mentioned this one, and I think this is very apt. All of Region 4 in 2A Division 2, big winner. Bremont's gone. Bremont's in Region 3. And so when Bremont got put in Region 3, all of a sudden, he mentioned it, teams like Bruni, teams like Falls City, are kind of sigh of relief, even Dehennis. If you have a couple squads that can catch fire at the right time, I think that this was a great draw for Region 4 because they avoid the big bully. They won't have to see Bremont until what would be a state semifinal. And that's also not to say that Bremont's going to have a walkthrough. They're not going to have a walkover. First of all, their district's pretty tough. Hubbard's in there. Frost had a nice year. Chilton always tough. And not to mention, then you look at, you're going to have Tenaha in that region. You're going to have Iola, who had a great year last year. I think Region 3 is definitely tougher than Region 4, and especially with the addition of Bremont.
Yeah.
I think Region 4, those teams are like, yeah, this is fine. This will work for us.
Yeah.
And then one of the teams that dropped down that we haven't talked a whole lot about, and I think people may not have realized it, but Manville.
Yeah.
Manville, a squad that obviously had super high hopes heading into 2015, didn't materialize, but now they dropped down to Class 5A, and I think overall, yes, they've got to deal with some of the Fort Bend schools, but overall, to be put where they are in District 23, I think overall it's a pretty decent draw for Manville.
Yeah.
And dropping down, now they become the big kid in the big kid on the small playground. I think that Manville is definitely a winner.
I think you and I are both sitting here going like, oh, hey, how about a little Denton Ryan Manville action at the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I think that they've definitely got to be considered early front runners in there. So we're now going to move down to people who maybe didn't fare so well, in my opinion. The losers from UIL realignment. Get involved with the conversation at hashtag DCTF Live. Who are your winners? Who are your losers? We're going to be mentioning a couple of tweets here in just a moment. But for me, it begins with the teams from District 25 5A that moved up.
Yeah.
Because, and we're talking specifically about Austin Vandergrift and Cedar Park Vista Ridge and Leander. Yeah. Okay? Because they could have gone a few different places, right? They could have gotten lumped in with some of the Austin ISD schools. They could have gone here, could have gone there. Instead, they are put not only in Region 4, which is you're gonna have to deal with the San Antonio schools, but beyond that, they get put in with Lake Travis and Westlake. And so 2 playoff spots you have to think are already spoken for.
Right.
And so for Vandergrift and Cedar and Vista Ridge and Leander, I think this was a very bad draw. They probably saw it coming, But now that you see it on paper and it's official, you're going, okay,
here we go.
That's not very good.
Yeah.
Another loser in realignment, George Ranch. I don't think there's any question.
No.
George Ranch could have gone a lot of different places. Moving up the 5A Division I state champions, moving up to Class 6A because of enrollment, and they get lumped straight in with the A-Leaf schools, and they get lumped in, more importantly, with Pearland and Pearland-Dawson. That is a very tough draw for the Longhorns, especially they're going to have to do a little bit of reloading heading into 2016.
Yeah.
Now, we think, Coach Ricky Tullis is going to have his squad ready to go,
Yeah.
but that is a tough draw to get put in there. And by the way, I don't know if you see who their by-district bunkmates are, but let's just say that they get past that, then all of a sudden you're potentially dealing with Friendswood in the first round.
Right.
Now Friendswood probably go in Division I, but if things happen, Dickinson's in that by-district area too. So this is a tough draw here for George Ranch. I thought that they were losers in UIL realignment. Stepp mentioned it as well. I think one of the clear teams that came up on the short end of the stick in realignment, San Antonio East Central.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, another situation where they could have been put in a lot of different places, and they get lumped in with what is, I think, undoubtedly the best top-to-bottom district in San Antonio.
Yeah.
They get put in with Cibolo Steel, with Smithson Valley, with Converse Judson, not to mention a resurgent Church Clemens squad that's going to have Frank Harris back next year. You've got squads like New Braunfels and New Braunfels Canyon. Every once in a while, those will up and be outstanding teams. I think that this was a very, very tough draw for San Antonio East Central. I think they may be the biggest of the losers here in UIL realignment. They got a very tough draw. Staying in 5A, we're dropping down to 5A. Stepp mentioned it as well, but I want to expound on it. Corpus Christi, Cal Allen. And this has nothing to do with the teams that they're going to play. Yes, there's some tough teams in there. I think Alice has a chance to be pretty good next year.
Right.
But overall, I'm going to do this right now. Let me do this. Corpus Christi to Alice. Corpus Christi to Alice, only 50 minutes. That's not bad, right?
Yeah.
Corpus Christi to Eagle Pass. 3 hours and 38 minutes. Go do that. If you're on Google right now, Google Corpus Christi to Eagle Pass. You may not know where Eagle Pass is, and that's okay. But Eagle Pass is in the Rio Grande Valley. It's not in the Valley, but it's on the Rio Grande. It's on the United States-Mexico border. It's just south of Del Rio.
That was 3 hours and what?
38 minutes.
Ugh.
It is 216 miles away. Now, Cal Allen is appealing this, and I wonder if they're not going to end up winning that appeal to get moved in with all the other squads, all the other Corpus Christi squads in District 30. But that would make a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 team, 10-team district. So all of those schools, they need basically 16 different schools to say yes. They need all the schools from District 29 and all the districts, presumably, from 30 to say yes. Right now, as it stands, Cal Allen and really, to go to Eagle Pass win, that is a nightmare for them.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a travel nightmare. I think Corpus Christi Cal Allen is a big loser. In UIL realignment, I need to be very clear.
Yeah,
Corpus Christi Cal Allen wins a lot.
Yeah,
they win a lot, but I think the UIL
got a tough draw.
The UIL was not very kind to them. And then we're going to finish up in what is now the new Little Southwest Conference, District 2, 6A. And it just gets wider and wider and wider. And I think that if you're not in West Texas, you don't necessarily understand the vast expanse that this district now covers. Okay? This district now goes as far north. Let's see. Let me pull up my map. Let me pull up my map. This district now goes as far north as Amarillo. Okay? Yeah. When you've got Amarillo, Tascosa. It now goes as far southwest as San Angelo. Okay? Amarillo, Tascosa to San Angelo Central. Let's just see what this comes up with. 4 hours and 34 minutes.
Ooh.
That is 300 miles. You're talking about a huge expanse, and I understand.
It is what it is.
I understand that. But at the same time, I think that when you had, the addition of Tascosa and the addition of having friendship in there from the Lubbock area, every road game is going to be key. So when you get the schedules, make sure you look at that. Make sure you look at the travel and who's on the road and who's at home, because I think that's going to play a huge factor. Now, these schools are used to it. That doesn't mean it's easy, and that doesn't mean that this is necessarily a great draw. Beyond that, I think that these are a lot of really, really good squads. So those are my winners and losers. We asked on Twitter at DCTF who were your winners and losers, and we got a few different responses. Our friend Mike England out in Abilene, I believe. Yes, Mike England said that winner was Amarillo Tascosa and loser was Abilene High. Now, his idea is that Tascosa could have been put in a lot of different places, and they end up getting put in with this district. He says that Abilene High is a loser. I disagree. I think that Abilene High got a nice draw. Yes, the travel is a little tough. Obviously, Abilene dropping down to Class 5A. I think that their draw is actually. I'm sorry, they're staying in 6A, but they're not lumped in with the Little Southwest Conference. Instead, they're going east to the Metroplex. And yes, there's a bit of a draw. There's a bit of a drive there. There is absolutely. I don't think there's any question about that. But I disagree. I think Abilene's draw is very favorable because they got I think they've got a very manageable district with the Keller schools, with Haltom, with Weatherford. I think that it's a very manageable district. Elsewhere on Twitter, make sure you get involved with the conversation at DCTF Live. Patsy E. Smith tells us that Rogers is a loser. Small 3A school that's traveling 167 miles to Comfort. Absolutely.
It's a fair point.
And beyond that, it's not just the travel. That is a tough district as well. You're talking about Rogers in there. You're talking about Lexington. You're talking about Comfort. You're talking about Blanco, who always has an outstanding defense. That's a tough district to begin with. Yeah, so now you're lumping Rogers and Comfort in together. It's a long distance, not to mention a lot of quality squads in there. And finally, on Twitter, Kenny Anderson out of Cold Spring says that, of course, Cold Spring Oakhurst is a winner. And I think so. I think so, too. I think overall they did well. But Cleveland ISD now gets, he says, is a loser. They get lumped in with Navasota. I think that's absolutely right. Now, what does Navasota look like without Shelton Epler and Trendavian Dixon?
Yeah.
We don't know. They usually they don't have down years.
No, Coach Fedora will have them ready.
He will have them ready. But I do think that Cleveland ISD getting lumped in with Navasota, not particularly fun. So that is those are my winners and losers. Who are your winners and losers from UIL realignment? Let us know. #DCTF Live. That's going to do it for us, I think.
Big day tomorrow, though.
Big day tomorrow. We're going to have an hour-long show. Big old day tomorrow. And I can tease it tomorrow. Chad Morris. The head coach of the SMU Mustangs will be joining us on signing day to talk about his recruiting class. We're going to be joined by a lot of different guests. We're going an hour tomorrow. So be here tomorrow for our signing day edition. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook.
I have to stop you one more time. Sorry. Danny Davis, our friend at the Statesman, just sent me a great text, and he's right, about Rogers and their realignment, right? He said, it's not that awful. Just stay overnight in Lexington on Friday night and grab some snows.
Now that
is a great sports point.
We have got, really, that's the thing that we're not talking about enough with realignment.
Yeah.
Is where can you eat in your new district?
Lots of places. It's a great eating state.
Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Vince Young, please come get your Player of the Year trophy. And we'll see you tomorrow for our big signing day extravaganza here on DCTF Live.